Hello, my name is tjintjelaar. I'm a black and white fine art long exposure photographer. I started photography many years ago with analog cameras, something that I used from my father. But I seriously got into photography just, 6 years ago, when I got my first DSLR camera. The first time that I got into long exposure photography, that was when I saw a picture, and I forgot the name of the photographer, but I saw a picture of a long exposure photograph, and I thought by myself, wow, this is looking fantastic. It has such a surreal and such a mysterious atmosphere that I thought, okay, that's something that I just wanted to try out myself. And the reason that I got into black and white photography was mainly because of my great inspirations in photography. There were the people like Yusuf Karsh, like Richard Avedon, like Irving Penn. Those were the great, let's say, black and white fine art photographers that I knew at that moment. The first long exposure photograph that I took, that was somewhere around 2009. It was of a pier in the Netherlands, the pier in Scheveningen. And I tried it out. It was the first time that I ever held a ND filter that you need for taking those long exposure photographs. And I was quite happy with the first results. So I immediately started to convert them to black and white, and it was already a very good picture, but absolutely not comparable to what I do today. Because what I do today consists mostly of black and white long exposure architectural work. But I started out with seascapes, and I think that if you start out with long exposure photography, and especially black and white long exposure photography, I think it's good to start with the seascapes, because it's quite easy to process and also quite easy to capture before you go into the long exposure architectural photography. Well, the first architectural photograph that I took and that I was quite pleased about was a photo that I took in San Diego. It was a photo of the Salk Institute, and that was actually a turning point for me as a black and white architectural photographer, because that was the moment that I really started developing my own individual techniques. Capturing the photo, only took me an hour, so it didn't take that long. I took a few photographs. I think there were 4 or 5 that I took. The one that I worked on was, of course, the best one, because it had no real hard shade. So it was a very good picture with a very diffuse light. I think the best part was the final result with the black and white conversion. The thing that I really like about this picture is that it was the first time that I started to apply the idea of creating presence on an image. Creating presence by defining all the edges and by altering the tonal relationships. That was the first time that I did that in the photograph that I also published. The first time I won an award was in 2010. That was the Sony World Photography Awards. I got nominated on a short list of 10 people. Was also nominated for World Photographer of the Year 2010. Shortly after that, I won the International Photography Awards, second place, with my Zealand Bridges series. The year after, I won first place also at the International Photography Awards with my architectural series. And this year, or the past year, I've won second place again in the professional section with also an architectural series. I started doing workshops, that must be somewhere 2 years ago, I think, so not so very long ago. And I started doing that because many people started to ask me, okay, how do you do this and how do you do that? And I have to say, I'm not afraid of sharing my knowledge. I mean, I've heard from a lot of other photographers ask me the same question, okay, why are you sharing your information? Aren't you afraid that someone is going to steal your concept and is going to create all those great photographs themselves? I have to admit, I've never thought like that. Actually, it makes me kind of happy. Okay, I'm also kind of proud, you know, that's something that I've taught them, and something that I could be an inspiration for them. My signature style, if I have to think about that, then I think it's first it's about minimalism. I always look for some sort of minimalism in all my photos, whether it is a seascape or an architecture photograph or a still life photo. So that's one aspect of my style of photography. But the other aspect is, of course, that I have a certain style of black and white post-processing. And I think that my typical black and white style is consisting of high contrast, but not so high that it looks ugly. But there's always a great range of tonal range in between. I think that's one of the most important elements of good black and white photography. But the other one is that I always like to use deep dark blacks in my image. I always give, let's say, a deep dark black or the very bright whites. I give them almost always a very substantial position in my photographs. Photography is, of course, passion for me. This is a very important aspect, but at the same time, it gives me the opportunity to be very creative in a way that suits me. I mean, I've always wanted to be a painter, but I can't paint. I can't draw those exact lines, you know. I've always wanted to be an architect as well, but I never did that. I don't know. I still don't know why. And because the basic thing is that I've always been a very creative man. At some point in time, I also started writing short stories and essays. So there's always this creative element, and I think that with photography, I finally found something that in which I can express all my creativity in a way that really suited me.